Hey church family, thank you for joining us for today's Daily Connection video. This week we are kicking off talking about being sure of our salvation. And we're going to talk some about that salvation and why we need salvation, why that is so important. And so we're going to be looking in the book of Ephesians. This is Paul's letter to the church in Ephesus, but the letter was passed around to much more than just the city of Ephesus. And there's great theology that we find here in this book, quite a bit of theology about salvation. Soteriology is what we would call that. And so Paul gives a real rich description of how salvation works and the power of Christ within our lives. But before as we look into chapter 2, and he is beginning to articulate some of that about salvation, he talks about our condition before salvation. That's kind of what I want to focus on today. It says in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 through 2, it says, "And you were dead in your trespasses and sins, in which you previously lived, according to the ways of this world, according to the ruler of the power of the air, the spirit now working in the disobedient." And so Paul is describing who we are before Christ. He says, man, you were dead in your trespasses and sin. And a lot of times when we think about sin, we think, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, like murder is wrong and adultery is wrong and stealing is wrong. We look at those sins, we're like, oh, hey, those are really, really bad. But we don't do those things, right? So like, sin, okay, like I just need to do better. But the reality is the standard for better is a life of righteousness. It's a righteous life, a life of holiness. Holiness is meaning that we are set apart, totally different than the world. And the standard is so high that we can't do anything to meet it. That standard is impossible for you and I to meet. And so if we can't meet that standard, if we can't live perfectly sinless lives, then we face a consequence. And that consequence is death. And that's why Paul says, and you were dead in your trespasses and sins. Death is the consequence. And a dead person, someone who is dead, can't do anything about it. They cannot save themselves. They can't cause themselves to come back to life. And we are in the same condition when we are dead in our trespasses and sins. And that is how important Christ is for you and me. Because while we can do nothing about our own deadness, Christ can. Christ alone can bring us back to life. And so these people who live selfishly and they live according to their flesh and they live according to the standards of the world and they walk through this world like that, they are living in death with no chance for life. But I know I have life. And my hope is that if you're listening, that you have life as well. And that life comes through Christ, and we can be grateful and thankful and give praise to the one who has brought us from death to life, from darkness into light. Christ has done something that you and I could not do. He paid the price that we deserved, and he defeated both sin and death with his resurrection. He sits at the right hand of the Father, waiting to complete all that he has begun when he calls us home to be with him. Can we just give him glory for that? Praise be to God for all that he has done for you and me. And let us not forget the condition that we were in before him. Let us not forget the death that we faced, the consequence that we owed, that we deserved, and remember who pulled us from it. Our author gives us a couple of questions that we can look at. First one is, why is it important to understand that we are dead in sin? Why is that so important? Why is it vital that we understand that? And the second question, how can we be raised with Jesus? Man, I hope you know the answer to that question. If you don't, man, please reach out to us. You can call the church. You can email the church at prayer@fbcvancleave.org. You can email one of us directly, Aaron@fbcvancleave.org. You can email Brother Brent at brent@fbcvancleave.org. Look us up. Our phone numbers are on the website. Please, if you have questions about how you can be raised with Jesus, don't sit here and wonder. Please reach out to us. Let's talk to you about what it looks like to be raised with Christ and go from death to life. Church family, I hope that you will take our offer seriously. I hope that you will dig in deep here and today show appreciation for all that Christ has done for you. And as you do it, I want you to know that we love you and we're praying for you.